What is up, and welcome to another edition of the Mile High Hoops podcast. As always, I am your host, Zach By, and as always, I appreciate you spending a sliver of your busy day with me here on the podcast, reacting to a season. Man, oh man, oh man. Just like that, you guys, a Denver Nuggets season comes to an abrupt end. Could not believe the fashion of the exit. I sit here before you on Tuesday. It's been about 2 days since it went down, since I was sitting in Ball Arena watching the Denver Nuggets unravel like an old sweater. They just kept on tugging on that thread. It's hard to reconcile the way that it happened. You know, the fact that it happened itself is hard to reconcile. But when you talk about having a 15-point lead at halftime, first team ever to come back from down 15 at halftime of a Game 7, largest lead ever blown in a Game 7, up 20 points in the third. There's a lot to unpack. There's future stuff that I don't want to talk about today. All right, so I'm going to just be patient here because we'll come back here and record on Thursday and talk about some of the looking ahead things. But being that they're the reigning champions, I know because of our setup this year, Tuesday, Thursday, scheduling for social, didn't get to react on a Monday here on the podcast anyway. I did it for 4 hours on the radio show, The Drive. You can hit that podcast up wherever you get your podcast. I said this one other time in the history of this podcast, what I'm about to say, in that, you know, when you do this job long enough, I've been talking about sports professionally for 15 years now, okay? It's been my life, and I'm so blessed to do it. But when you get through the excitement, especially the early years, or even coming to Denver, you get through the years and you cover seasons and athletes and teams, and you can become a little bit cynical, a little bit jaded, a little bit numb to sometimes the greatest things that sports has to offer, and then some of the worst. And not that this is the worst, right? Because there's like other serious stuff. Like you look at the Valenchushkin situation going on with the Colorado Avalanche. Like that's really bad, dark stuff. This is sports stuff. But within that sports stuff, experiencing the heartbreak of something like this and euphoria of something like a championship. And I just wanted to bring that up because I'm speaking just for me personally. This basketball team has made me feel in a way that I haven't really about other sports teams really in years. You know, I've been on this journey with them, getting here, 7 Nuggets seasons ago, and sort of just watching this group and becoming connected with it, and doing 6 years of this podcast, and that we started with Earl Boykins years ago. And then you get to see it cross the finish line and they win the championship, and that makes you feel that bliss and that like reward almost. And it struck a chord of happiness with me that is like usually reserved to like stuff with like friends or family. And I mentioned that because, man, Sunday night and Monday, what a somber feeling that I had personally. I'm not accustomed to that. And it made me almost feel, and this is like really weird to say, made me feel like alive as a sports fan, like invulnerable to like that it would like legitimately bother me. Guys, usually I don't lose a second of sleep over anything that happens with any of these teams. And I just keep it compartmentalized when I go home to my family. That's what it is. And I'm certainly not saying that like these Nuggets are a member of my family, but that's what Sunday night's loss did. It was like, wow, you are finding yourself legitimately upset. And I think that's a good thing ultimately, even though it's in the midst of a bad thing, because I love this team. And I thought they were going to win it all again. And I was wrong. And we can talk about the game a little bit. I couldn't believe what I was seeing as it unfolded on Sunday night, as the Wolves fans got louder and louder. Wow, what a presence from the Wolves fans in Ball Arena. I did not see that coming. And just watching the Nuggets look helpless for most of that third and definitely that fourth quarter. Their tongues just dragging on the ground. And it did not look like Denver Nuggets basketball. We've talked about that a couple different times in this series, that their offense became static and stagnant. I've been so critical of the Celtics because their process in fourth quarters of games that matter in tight games, their process is give the ball to Jason Tatum and ask him to go be great. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, go be great is not an offense. And the Nuggets offense dissolves into that and nothing else, almost nothing else. And Jamal Murray scores 35. 24 of those were scored in the first half. He was great in that first half when they needed him most in the second half. Not enough. And you give Anthony Edwards credit for that. And, I've been saying, let's slow down with the Kobe comparisons, the Jordan comparisons. And while I still believe that, we need to damper down a little bit. What is this, his third playoff series ever won? Right? I just think it's too early. But I'll give him credit for this. One of my favorite Kobe Bryant moments in his career was in Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals. And Kobe was such a warrior. He wanted the fourth ring and the fifth ring just like he wanted the first. I mean, that's what made those guys different. And we'll see if Ant has those characteristics, right? That's why it's just too early. But I'll give Ant credit for this. In Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals, Kobe could not hit a shot, all right? And, of course, he's one of the great scorers of all time. And it's Game 7, and he's prepared his whole life for that moment. And there it is, and he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. So what does he do? He plays world-class defense on Paul Pierce and grabs 14 rebounds from the guard position. It was just a refusal to lose on a night where he didn't have the signature portion of his game, which was scoring the basketball. Ant was not the best offensive player for the Wolves on Sunday night. He wasn't the second best offensive player. He struggled mightily. He was 6 for 24. 6 for 24. And you know what he did? He was so wise beyond his years. He was able to compartmentalize in the healthiest of ways and saying, I am not getting it done offensively. I am going to take Jamal Murray out of this basketball game. And he was green chili, and Jamal Murray was a breakfast burrito, and Ant was smothering. And that is the sign of this. That kid he's him, for right now. And, Kobe shot on that Game 7 against the Celtics, 6 for 24. 6 for 24. Jokic just didn't have enough. And they were asking him to do everything. And then he just didn't have it in that second half when it mattered the most. Not enough anyway. He doesn't want to take 10 threes, right? That was mostly hard to watch. But that's what the offense got reduced to. I mean, it was desperation. And once Minnesota did not go away, and give all the credit in the world to the Wolves, I am not going to be here doing revisionist history. That is an awesome basketball team. They have a superstar player. They have secondary scoring. They have depth. They play together at all times. They play great team defense. And they are well coached. You know who that reminds me of? The Denver Nuggets of 2023. That were mostly peerless in all those departments. It sucks. Complicated when talking about Jamal Murray. He goes for 35 points on 13 of 27, so still shot below 50%. Jamal was helter-skelter in these playoffs. And I don't know which one's worse. The skelter, it was more skelter than helter. You have to go back to Bob Cousy in the 50s and Havlicek of the 60s to find a worse true shooting percentage in a singular playoffs from a player that takes 20 or more field goal attempts. Jamal struggled in these playoffs. He did. From a even from a temperament standpoint within this series, right? Michael Porter Jr. was an absolute disaster in this series. A disaster with a capital D. And we all root for MPJ. He's kind of a enigma, but he's Denver's enigma. But it crossed over into this series of new territory when they needed him bad, you guys. If he just scores his average in Game 7, Nuggets win. But he scored 7 instead of 16, 17. And it's a game you lose by 8 on your home floor. 7 points in Game 7, 8 points in Game 6, 6 points in Game 5, 4 points in Game 4. Not even like in the same neighborhood is good enough. In a different zip code, in a different state, in a different country, it was not even close. 5 single-digit performances from MPJ in this series. And it's hard to separate MPJ's performance from the max-level player that he is. But he's a max contract. He's not a max player, and we know that. But we all kind of accept it because it's kind of our thing and his role, and it's perfect for this particular group. But it wasn't anywhere close to good enough in this series, and it cost Denver in a meaningful way. I think Jokic has a prime that's going to last 5 more years. There's going to be more opportunities, and I think this group has a great chance to win another championship. We've made so many Spurs analogies through the years. It's only right that the Spurs won 5 titles in the 2000s and never went back-to-back. I don't know if Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a part of this group here moving forward. I'm not saying he's not, but the question needs to be asked. And we will, again, later, we'll look forward and look at some of those scenarios. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, same thing. He was offensively not even within a galaxy close enough in Game 7 anyway. He goes for 5 total points. And Aaron Gordon goes for 4 points in 42 minutes. 4 total rebounds. It was hard to watch in that second half, y'all. Really hard to watch. Really hard to watch. And it's sad. And it's sad because Denver, I still am... God, they should have won that game. And it feels like the 2019 Game 7 against Portland, where in that series, the best player in that Game 7, Dame Lillard, struggled mightily. And it was C.J. McCollum going for 37. I think it was Miles Leonard had a huge game. And in that game, the Nuggets had, I believe, it was a 17-point lead and blew it. And I believe, and I hope my math is right here and my history and my facts are right, I believe that is the 2 largest blown leads in Game 7 histories. The Nuggets own both of them. A 20-point loss and a 17-point loss, I think. Or was it maybe 19 points? Don't, because I know the Magic just lost up 18. It's among, I think it may be 2 of the 3. Regardless, it's not, that's old histrionics, but it's not good. It's not good. And it's a missed opportunity. And I started saying it, but I didn't complete the thought. I think Jokic is going to be in his prime for 5 more years, right? He's 29 through 34. Maybe it's 6 more years. So let's just say 6. Let's be liberal with it. I'm looking at it like a window, like a physical window that's open 6 inches. And it was 7 inches on Sunday morning, and by Sunday evening, it's down to 6. This is not unique to Denver, okay? No defending NBA champion has made it out of the second round since 2019. This is a rare era of NBA basketball, and this is what I was 6 straight years with a new champion, right? This is what I was hoping the Nuggets would avoid and create that larger footprint in NBA history, and I was wrong about that. At least for this time around the sun. They'll be back. The team will not be the same. And some conversations need to be had of is the coaching staff and the Nuggets management on the same page for their approach with trying to develop young players while defending a championship, trying to uniquely occupy 2 lanes at one time. It didn't work. Didn't work. Now, Peyton Watson didn't really play in this series. I will say, though, I wonder if Calvin Booth wanted him to. Because you go back to that game on April 10th when the seed was on the line and it was up for grabs, the 2 seed, Nuggets versus Timberwolves. Huge high intensity game. Peyton Watson played 23 minutes, had 3 points, I think, 4 rebounds, and a career high 6 blocks. And I wonder if those two see the vision of this team the same. And at the end of the Sunday night, Michael Malone said, hey, we have to play our main guys through 82 games. And I wonder if that was like coded language for, dude, we needed more veterans. And I wonder if they're on the same page in that regard. We'll talk more about that on Thursday. Okay. We're going to leave it there for now. It's hard. But I'll say this on the way out. Winning a championship is so hard. Denver had never done it before, and they may never do it again. It's not a birthright. But it makes me feel lucky that me, you, this podcast, the game of basketball, this town, all intersected at one time for a championship. And I'll have those pictures of the parade with me and my son, and they'll be in my family for the rest of my life. And I'm disappointed, I'm sad, but I'm also thankful for where the Nuggets have been and brought me along the ride for. And maybe you don't want to hear that today, and I don't blame you. But I just wanted to share some of that perspective that they did defend a title, and they went and won the most games in franchise history, and they got out of the first round. And the sad thing is, I think these are the 2 best teams in the NBA. And that's just how it worked out. We're going to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be back Thursday. You're not going to want to miss that episode because I think there's a bit of an announcement at the end of it. And I'm not sure if it's an announcement. Maybe they're laying the groundwork for an announcement. But I'm looking forward to Thursday. We'll be back. Hope you guys are doing great. And we'll see you on Thursday right here.